Okay, folks, I think I am going live. I'm still waiting on Instagram. So give me just a moment here. Wait, I think that we are, there we go. Excellent. Beautiful. Welcome. My name is Karen McMahon. I'm the founder of Journey Beyond Divorce, and I am a high conflict divorce strategist. And today is day one of 21 days where where I will be going live to support you through education, guidance, encouragement, and maybe a little bit of training. And so the first thing I want to say is I've been inviting people to drop any topic that you want to hear about in the comments. And so whether you are on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram right now, uh, when you see this, if you have a topic that you would like me to discuss, just drop it in the comments and I will do everything I can to add it to our editorial calendar. I've already gotten close to a dozen requests, so please do drop them in and I'm going to do my best to cover everything. So let's jump into today's topic. Today's topic is how do you know how to choose the right divorce attorney, matrimonial attorney for yourself? And what are the red flags that you might have made a decision that hasn't served you? And so I'm just going to dive into a couple of different elements of this. I'm going to go really quick. One of the key things that you want to know before you hire an attorney is the different approaches to divorce. And so we support a lot of times high conflict divorce, but let's just talk about divorce in general. You might want to mediate, you might want to collaborate, you might want to litigate, and you might want to arbitrate. And so those are four different avenues to navigate divorce. And you want to know what is different about each one and which legal approach would fit you best, so that you don't go and just hire, for instance, a litigation attorney and then realize, I probably would have been better off in collaborative law. And so a very quick explanation of each. Litigation is when you're going through the court system. It doesn't mean you're going to trial, but it does mean that you're using the court system as almost like a traffic cop to help you through. And so you're going to hire a litigating attorney. Collaboration is when you stay out of the court. You're actually committing to stay out of the court system. And you hire your attorney, your spouse hires their attorney. There may be a couple of other neutral experts, like a financial expert or a parenting or a mental health expert in the room to help. But those sessions are more about you and your attorney, them and their attorney sitting around a table and negotiating. Mediation is a step back from that in terms of support. Mediation can happen in one of two ways. Most mediation is you and your spouse pick a mediator who may or may not be an attorney, and you go and you negotiate. And so that person can't give you an advice. They can't sway the negotiation in your direction. And so if there's a power imbalance in your relationship, mediation might be pretty hard. Some people go facilitated mediation where they have their attorney at the table with them, but I'm not going to get into much more detail about that. Miranda has a question. I'm just going to answer this. Will questions or comments remain private to only those who follow this page? Yes. If you're on Facebook right now, absolutely only those on the page. So once you know which approach, right? And so there may be some research to be done there. So now you know what approach that you want to take. Now, there are law firms that do all of the above, and there are law firms that are just litigating. And so once you know your approach, now you're looking for an attorney within that approach. And this gets complicated if you and your spouse haven't agreed on the approach. And so there's a lot of pre-work to do. One of the things I talk a lot about is in the early stages of divorce, sometimes even before you tell your spouse, there's a lot of information you want to gather and some basic decisions you want to make to set yourself up. So, okay, so now you've decided on a legal approach. How do you choose an attorney? And there's a lot of questions that you want to be asking, but if we keep it to the basics right now, you are leaving a relationship that you've been in for a long time. And this is one of the first relationships you're developing, right, as you transition. And your attorney is going to be your number one advocate. And so, what I will say is, I have seen so often where clients are emerging from high conflict marriages and they go out and they hire a bully attorney to bully their spouse. And they end up being in the midst of a bully sandwich between the bully spouse and the bully attorney, who actually bullies them as well. And so, this is your opportunity to do relationship differently. What do you want from an attorney, just on a basic level? I know for me, I want to be heard. I want to be seen. I want someone who has the time and the patience to hear my question, to maybe answer it more than once if I don't understand. For me personally, um, I want someone who's responsive. If I feel like I have a crisis, whether or not they think it's a crisis, and I'm emailing or calling, I want to know that I'm going to get a response in a reasonable amount of time. The other thing is, we're pretty sloppy as we enter divorce, and we're emotionally dysregulated. There's a lot of stress and tension. And so it's really, really important that you hire an attorney who has emotional intelligence, right? So if you get upset and you snap at them, you don't want them snapping back at you or bullying you or berating you, right? Like, that's the behavior you're trying to stay away from. And so part of what you want to do is you want to create a list of questions to ask, right? It might be about uh, what percentage of their practice is that high conflict, if you're coming from high conflict, or how long they've been doing it for, or how they develop a strategy. There's so many questions that you can ask. And so what they charge and what their retainer is the one that everyone thinks about, but there are a lot of really important questions. And you also, not only do you want to be asking the key questions about their experience, how long they've been doing it, how they approach divorce, how they deal with client support and service, that responsiveness I'm talking about. um, you also want to bring a certain amount of your information and see how well they engage with your situation. So, for instance, if you say that you're very concerned about your high conflict soon to be ex and parental alienation, and you're kind of getting poo pooed, and yeah, everyone's divorcing a narcissist, and don't worry about it, I've got that covered, that might be a red flag. A red flag is definitely an attorney who starts telling you a lot of war stories, because this is your time and they charge a lot per hour. And so you want to make sure that their attention is on you and your unique situation. And so, what does their office look like? How organized are they? Are they taking calls while you're there? Are they respectful? Are they speaking in a way that you understand? If you have to ask a question a second time, are they showing patience and grace? Are they uh, reading you, right? This is the emotional intelligence. Are they reading you to understand what you need and then giving it to you? They're attorneys. They're just human beings. Some of them are really awesome and some of them not so much. And so, when you are in a position of hiring, you want to make sure that you have a list of questions that you want to ask, and that you have a list of things that you're looking for to assess whether or not this is a good fit. It's often very wise to interview more than one attorney. I will try to always give my clients three names and strongly encourage them to have all three conversations, because if you're not comparing to anything, that's not good. One of the mistakes people make is they hire their brother's attorney or their best friend's attorney or their coworker's attorney, and yet every divorce is so incredibly different. Just because someone was a rock star for your friend or family member doesn't mean they're a good fit for you. So when you have the questions to ask, when you have what you're looking for, when you know what approach to the legal approach that you want to take, you're already set up for greater success. Um, and and then the follow-up, so the lead up to the appointment, the follow-up to the appointment, how the receptionist is, pay attention to everything, because for most of us, for those of you who know me, my divorce was 3.5 years. I believe my client with the longest divorce is over 8, maybe close to 10 years. Many people divorce in 6 months to a year or two, but you have a relationship with that person for a while. So you want to make sure that you're making a good decision. And let me just touch on a few of the red flags, because that was the actual question that came in, was about red flags with their attorney. And so if you feel in any way, shape, or form uh, intimidated, shut down, not heard, if you are chasing your attorney, if something's important to you and you're waiting and your email didn't get responded to, your voicemail didn't get responded to, if you feel that your concern is being diminished, if you feel that your attorney is being reactive. I had a client once who said, I did what you told me. I told my attorney what I was concerned about. And she was so hurt and offended, and she started like yelling at me. Um, that is not an attorney with a high emotional intelligence. Anyone who's a divorce attorney, they have to have a thick skin, because those of us going through divorce, we're not in our best state. And so if you have somebody who's reactive, who in any way, shape, or form reminds you of somebody, that the person that you're divorcing, or a hostile individual in your life, then you're absolutely, I don't care if they're listed as the top attorney in all of the state, the nation, if that's your experience, that is not going to serve you. And so let me summarize for you. Hiring your attorney is one of the most important decisions you're going to make. Being educated before you even go and speak to somebody about the different legal approaches is really important. Putting together a list, and we help provide that. We've got podcasts that provide the questions to ask and the things to look for. So putting a list together of everything you want to look for and everything you want to ask about is really important. You want to go, you are the CEO of your divorce. You are hiring someone at a very nice rate who works for you. You need to address that power dynamic. Of course, you want to listen to them. They know a lot more than you. They have a lot of experience. And yet there is what you know and your intuition. And especially if you're emerging from a marriage where you feel like you've been broken a little bit, beaten down a little bit, where you feel a loss of your voice or yourself, it's really important that you pick an attorney who's going to completely have your back, that you feel very safe with. And the other thing I'm going to say about that is it's really valuable not to go to those appointments alone, and whether that's on Zoom or in person. And I know attorneys have an issue with this, but you're going to be very emotional, and you may forget a lot of the things you want to ask and look for. And so when you have a friend or a loved one who can keep that list, who can remind you to ask a question, who can take notes based on the things you want to be looking at, that is going to be incredibly valuable for you as you make that decision to hire and then engage in that relationship. And so that's it for today. Let's see, how do we do? Just about 15 minutes. They may not all be this long. If you have a question, you can post it. If I can see the post, I will answer. Otherwise, certainly post any comments or questions. And and certainly any requests for topics. And I will be back again tomorrow with day 2 of the 21-day live challenge. Okay, you have a good evening.